Is this the best of times or the worst of times in your school? Were you able to meet your goals and you were recognized as a high performing school this year? Or were you the school who is still ranked as underperforming and you say, I don't like it and I want to get out of it? So during these times, how many of you feel the burden of doing it again? I remember I was afraid. The feeling I had is that, maybe I can't do this again. And if I couldn't do it again, I was feeling on the inside that maybe I would be seen as a failure. I'd be embarrassed for sure. Maybe my chances for a promotion would be diminished, or maybe even a demotion. So, how many of you want to know, is this good time or is this the best of times? So how do you recover from times like these and sustain your success? Well, I want you to know my name is Barbara Polk. I have the honor of turning around schools that were low performing, underperforming, in need of improvement. I was selected by the Texas Education Agency to go into schools to help those principals get those schools turned around. So I've had some experience at this. As I went through it, I really didn't understand what I was doing, but once I found out what I was doing, then I knew that it was my time to be able to share this with principals who are walking in my shoes, who've been in my place. So you asked the question, how do you recover from times like this and sustain your success? So the first thing we want to do is to examine the belief systems you have in place. So what is a belief system? Well, a belief system is what is the environment that students walk into every day? Do they walk in receiving a greeting from their teachers or from their classmates? Do they walk into an environment where they're told to stand straight, put their arms to their sides, take that hoodie off, pull those pants up? Or once these kids get inside of a classroom, do they believe that failure is not an option? And when I say failure is not an option, it means that, you as the principal, make sure that teachers convey to students that yes, the content may be a little difficult. Yes, the standards may be a little, uneasy. You may have, a few places that you miss that information down the line because, let's be honest, we're looking at our sixth graders who are now our ninth graders, and they missed out on some basics. But do you have an environment where the teachers know that they can convey that to the students, that we're going to be all right? I'm here to help you, but at the same time, I expect you to do the best you can. But do students know that if they do the best they can and they still miss the mark, that we have something in the system at that school, at your school, that's going to help them to get to the level that we want them to get? And the other thing that we're looking at when we examine belief systems is, do teachers believe they have your support? Do principals do you convey to the teachers in a way that we know that you're struggling? We know that you may have problems with the standards. You may have problems, dissecting the standards and being able to convey that information to the students where they know that it's going to be all right. Do teachers know and feel that when they need professional development, that they have the support of the principal. If they have problems with classroom management, that there will be somebody there to help them. Is your environment one where if you can't teach them, just throw them out and we'll just work with the ones we have in front of us? Is that your belief system? So what I'm telling you is that in order for us to recover during these times, and for those who were blessed enough to sustain your success and you need to do it again, or you had your greatest success this time around and you are a new principal and you know that you have the pressure on you, you're feeling, I have to do it again. I have to do it again, even though I don't have the same teachers. I may not have the same leadership team, but I'm gonna have to do it again. So what I'm telling you is the way for you to recover during these times, if you didn't reach your mark, and if you did reach your mark and you have to sustain your success, you have to have a winning culture. A winning culture is one where the environment is that people know that failure is not an option. So what does failure is not an option mean? It means that we're going to do whatever it takes as a team, as a principal, as a leadership team, as a teachers, as a student, as the community. At this school, we are going to figure out a way to make sure all students succeed. Now, I know that may sound far-fetched, but I never saw anybody who was trying to reach a goal and try to do shortcuts. There was no shortcut. There is no shortcut. So the biggest thing is to examine your beliefs. What do you believe? What do students believe? What do teachers believe? A winning culture will turn your school around and you will sustain your success. I'll tell you about a story that a parent told me. And the story goes like this. She transferred her student from a school district that was, so-called, a low performing school district, into a school district that, had met its highest rank. And they were, experiencing a few problems right before at progress report time, with her child. So she met with the principal. The principal showed her to the counselor, and the counselor said, let's look at your child's grades. So they saw that the child was a transfer and that the transfer was from a school district that was, not top of the line, in their mind. And the counselor made the comment to the parent and to the child, things are hard over here. What does that mean? Things are hard over here. They're in the same state. They have to pass the same standards. They're required to have certified teachers. They have substitute teachers, like all schools at this time. But what did that counselor mean when she said, things are harder over here than they were at your previous school? You know what it was? It was that belief system that was in that school. They believed that things were harder over there. But through further investigation, that parent found out that they had safeguards to make sure that those students who were not getting it, that there was a place for students to go to in order to meet the standard. There was somebody there who could help them. There was a system in place that all students knew about, where they could go to make sure they could bridge that gap. That is a winning culture. We believe that our school, we're harder than your school. That's their belief system. So what's the evidence? What's the evidence? So they say, well, if that's the belief system, why is this school over here, this district, a low performing district, and this one here is a higher performing district? Is it the students? Is it the socioeconomic background, which may have something to do with it? However, there are several schools that are considered low performing at one point, and they exceeded standards. The schools where I have been, we walked in there and they were low performing. And the last school that I was at maintained its exceptional standard for 8 years. Low performing, high performing, low income children. The key was a winning culture. Everyone had the belief that we were going to succeed, where failure was not an option. So failure is not an option means that we're going to do everything we can in order to make sure our students are succeeding. So do you have that? Do you have that belief system? During this time of post-COVID, time of, TikTok pranks, mass shootings, fake bomb threats, we're all called to stand. We're all called to walk through the distractions. And we have to get back on track. We know that during COVID, our sixth graders, who are now our ninth graders, they missed out on a lot. But when you have a winning culture, a belief system, even though they did miss out on a lot, what are we going to do about it if we have a winning culture on our campus? Are we just going to talk and let them fail? Or can we develop systems within our school to make sure that they get what they need? So what I'm saying is, don't put all your focus right now on what has happened, the kinds of issues you have had to deal with. Just put in proper safeguards and lead your team in the right direction. Establish your belief systems. Establish what it feels like when your teachers and when your students walk into your school. We can't be paralyzed. We have to use these times to fortify ourselves and be the change. Education is not, and schools are not the way they used to be. They will never be that way again. And for many of the changes that we have seen in education, it is something that needed to change. Some of the old ways, the pre-COVID, needed to disappear. So now is the time. It's the time for you to look for direction. Look for direction from your team. Look for direction from your colleagues. Look for direction from your students. They play a part. What do they need? We can't be paralyzed. Always be vigilant. Always be aware of what's going on around you. Find out what's working and repeat that. If something is not working, throw it out. Get your team to work on the same accord. So now is the time. Always be vigilant. Ask questions. Don't assume because you think it's a good idea that you think it's going to work and you haven't consulted anybody else. Oh, I've gone through that. I've gone through the time where we were having a special event. I took the event on myself. I decided what everything was going to be. And it was a big flop because that was my project. And somebody asked me after it was all over and it was a big flop, or they told me, if you would have asked me, I would have told you that that wasn't going to work, but you didn't ask me. Was that a learning opportunity for me? Absolutely. So let's focus on the environment that we have in our schools. Let's focus on the belief systems that we have. Let's focus on the teaming that we have. Let's focus on the children. Let's focus on the community. Our winning culture is going to move us up the ladder, and it's also going to help us to sustain our success. So you're saying, all right, Dr. Post. So you're saying that, if we have a winning culture, we're just going to automatically sustain our success, and we're just going to automatically meet our standard, and we're going to meet it every year. What I'm saying is that if you don't have a winning culture, you cannot put in place everything else that needs to be done for your school to succeed, for your school to sustain your success. That's what I'm saying. Now is the time to make that decision. Always be vigilant. Ask questions. Survey the situation and make a decision. I want to paraphrase a parable. And the parable goes like, now is the time for you to plant good seed. Now is the time for you to plant good seed. Weeds will be planted by unsuspecting circumstances. Weeds are going to be planted. The good seed will grow as well as the weeds. Let both grow until the harvest. At harvest, the weed will be destroyed and we will celebrate the good crop. Now is the time for you to have a winning culture. Will you have problems as you develop this winning culture? Absolutely. Will the problems come from your left when you're looking to your right? Will things happen that are unsuspected? Absolutely. But you have to move on. The good seed will grow. All of those things that you are developing in your campus to make your campus grow, to develop the culture in your school that is a winning culture, it's going to grow. At the same time, you're going to have challenges that come in the place of what we call weeds. We're not going to stop and just focus all our attention on the weeds, on the negatives. We're going to keep going, and we're going to let both of them grow until the harvest, because we understand where we're going. We know our harvest. And when it's harvest time, when it's time to show what we know, the weeds are going to be destroyed. All of the naysayers that said we couldn't get it, We couldn't do it. We couldn't do it again. We're never going to reach that level. They're going to be destroyed. And you're going to celebrate a good crop. So, what I'm saying to you today, principals, is that now is the time. The right time is now. The right time is now for us to overcome the weeds. They're going to always be there. They're going to be unsuspected, but we can't stop. We have to go. We have to go. Those weeds are going to come with us. But at the time of the harvest, they will be destroyed. And then your school will be known as a school that has a hallelujah success story. I want you to join our group, Principals on the Come Up, our Facebook group, if you're not already on it. And you can also get a copy of our free handbook, How to Sustain Your School Success. And just continue to join us. And if you want to, have more conversations like this, just hit those links that are below. So we will see you again next time on Principals on the Come Up, where we transform schools into hallelujah success stories. See you next time.